is incredibly important for the developing mind. We learn life skills, gain knowledge, and prepare ourselves for the world ahead of us. Teachers spend their lives teaching others in order to help them succeed in the world. However, not all teachers are as good as others, and some do some downright bizarre and terrifying things. So today on Top 5 Scary Videos, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 5 scary teacher stories that will keep you up tonight. Before we begin though, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. With that, let's jump in. A note first though, I loved all my teachers. All of them. There was only one that got fired, and he was weird. That was a weird story. In at number 5, the teacher who licked. Now this one is just downright weird and is not the content I wanted to read so early in the morning, but here we are, and if I had to read it, now you get to hear it. That's how this works. Honestly, this is very strange. Posted to Scary for Kids by an unknown user, they state, I quote, "My teacher was pretty weird. She used to wipe the blackboard with her hand and then lick the chalk off her fingers. She would also scratch her back frequently and have some skin under her fingernails. One morning during a test, I looked up and watched her take her hand, insert it down her blouse. She wiped it down her chest, across her stomach, around her sides, under her armpits, and then took it back out again. Wow, that was weird, I thought to myself. 10 seconds later, she looked around the class to check if anyone was watching, then smelled her hand and licked it from the bottom of her palm to the tips of her fingers and began sucking on her fingertips. I used to sit in the first row and she often borrowed my pencils without asking. I would cringe as I watched her holding them, chewing them, licking them. I couldn't bear to use them after she touched them. By the end of the semester, I had 2 pencil cases, one for my own pencils and one for the pencils she touched. Yuck. Honestly, I feel physically sick after reading this. No thank you. I would have left and never looked back. I don't need education that bad if people are licking things. In at number 4, we have the punishment. Posted to the Ask Reddit, who was the worst teacher you've ever had? User Woe_Bundy responded with this horror story. I quote, "I'm deaf and wear 2 hearing aids. As punishment, my grade 3 teacher used to take off my hearing aids and make me sit in the hallway alone. This happened in 1988, and this was just one of the many sadistic punishment techniques she used. She did this several times. I didn't really remember how long it lasted since it was 26 years ago. But my best friend told my mum. I didn't know it was even wrong. I trusted the authority of teachers. I can't even remember what I did, but I know it didn't take much to set her off, and she also absolutely loved singling kids out in class and embarrassing them. She would dump the contents of your desk out in front of the class and make you clean it up while everyone watched if you took too long getting out a book or pencil. Once we had swimming lessons and afterwards I couldn't find my underwear, but I was so afraid of being late that I just went commando and later tried to whisper to her that I couldn't find my underwear. She then yelled out in front of the entire class, 'You're not wearing your underwear.' Her name was Mrs. Barron, and in the 5th grade I won a writing contest about the evil Red Baron who got shot down in the skies by Ace, a top dog fighter. I got my revenge through the pen. Oh, and my bulldog of a mother. This is awful and a cruel form of punishment. I can't even begin to imagine the psychological damage this would have on a child. Horrible." In at number 3, we have Mrs. K. Posted to the Ask Reddit, who was the worst teacher you ever had in school? What did they do? User Tiny Crunch responded with this. I quote, "Mrs. K. I'll never forget her. She was an absolute monster. I was about 4 years old and had spent the early years of my life speaking only Korean. I'd never spoken a single bit of English in my life, and the language barrier between me and my pre-K teacher seemed to have sparked a toxic relationship. I remember her yelling at me to do something as she threw my coat at me. Me being only 4 years old and unable to understand her, broke down and ran out of the room only to be comforted by the secretary. In another instance, we were given lunch and were told we had to finish everything before we could get up and go outside. I remember this, I had this in school as well. I used to hide everything. Sometimes I would feel physically sick. When the teachers weren't looking, I would run to the bin and toss everything out. Anyway, it's not about me. I'd picked up some English by this point. I had never seen anything more foul than the steamed green beans that were presented in front of me, and of course, since I was told to eat them, I did. I proceeded to vomit into my cup of milk, which sweet old Mrs. K forced me to drink since that did not count as finishing my vegetables. The list goes on and on, like the time I cut my finger on a staple on the ground and she just ignored me the entire time as I bawled my eyes out. Of course, Mrs. K was always sweet to my mother whenever she came to get me. I took years until I told my mum. I thought every kid had gone through the same thing. My 5'2" Korean mother absolutely flipped her. I remember her furiously calling the school, but alas, Mrs. K had left after I moved on to elementary school. This is so awful, and I hope that this teacher is no longer working because no child should have to suffer through something like that. Also, don't make kids eat their vegetables if they don't like them. They will learn to love them in time, like I did. I hated carrots when I was younger. I wanted to throw up every time it went near my mouth, and now I love carrots. Give me one. Give me one right now. In at number 2, I was stalked by my teacher. Posted by an unknown user on Scary for Kids, this student tells of the time that they were stalked by their teacher. I quote, "When I was in high school, one of my teachers stalked me for a year. He was in his late 60s. He would show up at the fast food joint where I worked and would wait all day for me to come in. He used to wait for me outside work and would follow me when I was driving home. He even followed me into the grocery store. It was so creepy. I saw him every single day for months. He didn't even try to hide the fact that he was stalking me. I had to drive home by a different route every day to avoid him. One day he walked up to my little sister and started talking to her. I flipped out and called my dad to tell him what was happening. My dad came and threatened to kill the teacher if he ever came near either of us again. The teacher never did come back, but for a long time I kept his name, description, telephone number and license plate number taped to my refrigerator, just in case I ever went missing so the police would know where to look. This is awful and frightening that a student would have to go to such extremes in order to feel safe. No, teachers are supposed to make you feel safe. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have the substitute teacher. Now this creepy tale comes to us from Scary for Kids, submitted by an unknown user. They state, I quote, "I was stalked by a substitute teacher in high school. He became the substitute teacher in all of my classes whenever a teacher was absent, which oddly enough started happening quite frequently. His eyes lit up when he first saw me. Somehow he learned my schedule and started to wait outside my classroom to meet me. He would show up at sports practices and hide behind trees. He would show up at home and away games. He even knew my birthday. One day I was sitting on a windowsill in a 3rd floor classroom and he asked me out on a date. He inched closer and closer waiting for my answer. I was afraid he was going to push me out the window, so I said yes. I told my friends about him and they witnessed his strange behavior. My birthday was on a Friday. It was raining and I was pulling out of my parking spot to take my friend home. The teacher appeared out of nowhere. He walked around my car twice, knocked on the window and said, 'You're a brat. You're nothing but a rich, spoiled brat. You don't even deserve this car.' My friend told me then and there that if I didn't do something about it, he was going to tell the principal on Monday morning. I was terrified. I thought I would be blamed for this. I was afraid my parents would think it was all my fault. All weekend, I was terrified. Finally, Monday morning came and I was shaking in my boots. On the loudspeaker, the principal was announcing the day's events. He said that the substitute teacher would not be back. He had suffered a heart attack in church on Sunday and died right there on the spot." Honestly, this story is insane in so many ways. If you believe your teacher is acting inappropriately towards you, tell your parents, tell someone close to you, because you never know. Some people are weird, not everyone's the same. I'm lucky that I had good teachers, but I don't know about all of them. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Were there any teacher stories that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below and perhaps we can do a part 2. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos, Top 5 Scary Vampire Horror Movies That Changed All the Rules Part 2. AMB said, "Lost Boys was the movie which introduced me to vampires when I was a kid. Yes, I'm old. I will always love that movie. Now I need to go watch Daybreakers." I don't remember which vampire movie I was introduced to first. I have a bad memory. I think that was one of the first, honestly. What was yours, Chris? Oh, yeah, that's one for me as well. Yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn. It's Tarantino, isn't it? Yeah, that's a great film. Yes, and you should also go watch Daybreakers. Daybreakers is amazing. Ethan Hawke, amazing. Willem Dafoe, amazing. Bomberman said, "The only reason why vampires are scary is because of Queen Lucy." I make all vampires scary? That's good to know, thank you. That's quite the power I have. Or is it because you're scared because I might be a vampire? You can't confirm either. Whiskey Brewer said, "I love Byzantium. Such a fantastic film with amazing thought-provoking performances from Arterton and Ronan." I completely agree. I watched that film when I was in the height of my Gemma Arterton obsession, which I definitely went through. Watched every single one of her movies. 10 out of 10. Amazing actress. Give her all the awards. Richard Clark said, "Love Daybreakers. Completely different and underrated. I liked the idea of vampires being the norm rather than hiding in the shadows." I completely agree. Maybe it's the future we'll have one day. But I'll probably be dead. Nah, I'm a vampire, I'll live forever. Eric Howry said, "Great video. Did you and Keegan ever do a video together? You should add the Count Yorga vampire movie to the list." Me and Keegan did do a video when he first started working here. We collabed together. So, a long time ago. I don't know when that was. Sometime last year. We did a collab together. But that's the last one we did. Maybe we should do some more. If you want me and Keegan to collab when he gets out of his basement and comes back here, let me know and we'll do one. Also, I've never heard of that movie, but I'll look it up. Largo778 said, "Dark Queen Lucy, next is part 3, not part 2. I think you need a vacation." Okay, a lot of you commented this. Yes, the video was a part 2 when I said if you want another part 2, leave us a comment down below. What I meant to say was if you want a part 3, leave a comment down below. I make mistakes, and yes, I need a vacation. I am gonna go on vacation soon. I'm gonna go to Banff. I'm gonna sit next to a mountain. That's what I'm doing. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary bit. And until next time, see you later. School is incredibly important for the developing mind. I'm just gonna start again. I'm sweating. It's because it was supposed to rain and it was gonna be chilly.